Johnny Harper, are we on?
Yeah, we should be live. Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hey, guys. We are just waiting for a few minutes for the next few hundred people to join. Not quite a few hundred, is it? We've got a good number. We're not quite troubling 1,000 yet.
But if we do, we can support it at least. So there you go.
So, Johnny, just when did you
reckon? Hopefully, you can see on screen at the top of the presentation. There's a link that you could open up. We can pop it in the chat as well. But if you go to that link, obviously visit in the new tab just so that make sure you don't leave the session. But if you open that, at the end we'll be doing a Q&A. So if you've got any questions that come up throughout the presentation or at the end, if you drop them into that Q&A through there, we'll run through those at the end.
Okay. Just got a few more attendees that are just joining us now. Let's give it another, not quite a minute. So, Johnny, your bedroom's looking lovely. Is that a bedroom or is that a Premier Inn room?
It's my bedroom. I've never felt the pressure of needing to tidy my room. I feel like I'm 6 years old again. But,
at least you made the effort.
Yeah, but yeah, I was told by a colleague that it looks like a Premier Inn, so I don't know if to take that as a compliment or as an insult, but yeah, we'll go with it. I'm loving your advent calendar.
Well, my advent calendar, yeah, that's because the kids can't be trusted to eat all the chocolate if it's not in this room. So I'm here to print them off.
You don't get them at Premier Inns either, so I like it.
This is true. Okay, I think we should get started, Johnny.
Cool.
Okay, guys, welcome to today's webinar. I am Tom Greaveson. I'm the founder and CEO of Revolution Viewing, and I'm joined today by Johnny Harper, our technical director and the architect of Vepple. Okay, so just to start off with, there's a couple of housekeeping pieces. You might have heard Johnny's mentioned earlier, but for those of you who have just joined us, please do submit questions at the link above. So you can see there's a link above the slide. Copy and paste that. Johnny, can they get that from the chat?
Yeah, we can put it into the chat as well. So we'll pop it in there. Feel free to pick it up from there as well. If you just open it in a new tab to make sure that you don't lose the webinar session, obviously. We'll be doing Q&A at the end, so you can ask a question through there.
Thanks, Johnny. And just to let you know that we'll email you a link to this video at the end of the session. And if you would like a PDF of this deck that we're going to run through, then please do feel free to reply to that email and we can send you a deck as well. Okay, moving on to the next one. Okay, so today's webinar is the first in a series that will be linked to our company mission of empowering people to make life-changing decisions. So our direct route to achieving our mission is actually to work with you guys and partner with you guys to do everything that's within our power to help you increase the exposure of your fantastic facilities, your courses and your campuses. We want to be able to increase that exposure for the millions of people in the UK and around the world that are looking or in the process of making that life-changing decision to enroll at a university. So some of you on today's webinar session are old friends, or probably should say long-term friends of Revolution Viewing, and some of you might be new to Revolution Viewing. So if you don't mind, I'll just spend a couple of minutes touching on the origins of our company. In 2004, I founded Revolution Viewing on the basis of providing 360-degree virtual tours. So this 360 technology back in 2004, it just excited me. The idea of being able to capture an environment, showcase that environment online to thousands of people around the world, it was just really thrilling. And 17 years on, and I still think it's magic. And I'm really passionate, as is the team, about the technology that we provide. And we provide a range of different solutions. So as you can see on the slide there, we've got the 360 photography that the company was founded upon. We also provide a lot of high quality videos. And we also have some hybrid solutions where video meets technology. And these are personalized conversion videos, personalized video builder. These are our own technologies, along with the blog generator, producing authentic student content that's professionally edited. And then moving on from those items, we have bespoke virtual experiences that we've created for over 50 universities. And it's those bespoke universities, bespoke virtual experiences, where we really cut our teeth and really developed our knowledge of virtual experience technology to progress to making the most bold and exciting move yet as a company. And that was the launch of Vepple, our virtual experience software platform. And that was something that we launched in March earlier this year. So that product, Vepple, is the culmination of all these years of working in higher education. And I definitely believe that this is our most effective way as Revolution Viewing to actually achieve our mission and to empower these prospective students when they make this their university choice. And it's a real privilege that RV can actually play a part in this important decision in a person's life. So this webinar series is aimed at sharing our knowledge of virtual experience, of online recruitment and conversion. And so we aim to introduce topics and insight that we think will be highly transferable. For those of you that don't wish to purchase Vepple and become part of the Vepple community, as per our mission, we still want to help you improve your online offering and conversion. So we'd like to think these sessions and today's session, just like every other session that we'll host, will improve your university website and help you to actually join us in this mission of empowering people to make life-changing decisions. And so that's enough from me now. I'm going to pass you over to Johnny Harper to deliver the main feature, which is the 7 reasons why our clients tell us Vepple is a better student recruitment tool than their website. Johnny, over to you.
Cheers, Tom. So yeah, like Tom said, that's what I'm going to be walking through today, and I guess we've obviously framed it around Vepple, but for the avoidance of doubt, there's tips and things that we're going to be touching on here that you really could lean on for your website as well. So don't see it as it being in isolation for Vepple. So what we're going to be covering today, there's 7 reasons which I've got on screen here. So personalised experiences, a focus on interactive experiences, aggregated performance data and how we use that to continuously improve the product, data capture of individuals to inform marketing, dedicated support from us as industry experts, an easy to use CMS offering complete control, and the whole thing being responsive and accessible. So what is Vepple? I'm going to give you like a 1-minute super quick demo in a second just to show you, but at its heart, Vepple is about delivering interactive experiences for prospective students. It sits on a subdomain of your website and it's designed to drive conversion of key actions. So typically that's something like booking an open day or downloading a prospectus. It uses personalization to make sure that individuals only see what's relevant to them. And then it serves up content through guided tours, 360s, videos, events, Q&A, chat, lots and lots of different things. It's all brought together into one seamless, responsive and accessible solution. And then we continually make that better based on the data that we see from the sort of the user base as a whole, feeding into that. So as mentioned, I'm going to quickly just hop across to an example of a Vepple, and I'm going to go through this really quickly. Obviously, normally I would do this in like half an hour, 45 minutes, and if anyone wants a demo after this, by all means reach out to us and we can get one booked in. But I just thought it'd be helpful to show you very broadly what it does. So you can see here the personalization at the start. We're using that to say that we're an undergraduate art and design student. When we head into, in this case, MMU's Vepple, you can see there's a number of topics down the side here. So we're in the welcome section at the minute, but let's head into your subject. You can see here all of the content has been tailored for someone who's studying art and design. Likewise, the online talks that are taking place in January, they're specifically the undergraduate talks because we chose that we were interested in undergrad. So these pages are used to deliver topics completely flexibly, whatever you want to chat about. So in this case, we're in the accommodation section. We could head into some accommodation. We can have a look around here at a few different image galleries, but this could house 360s, it could be videos, it could be articles, it could be galleries. You can also position everything geographically. So if we wanted to have a look around, like I say, this is MMU, so we're in Manchester here, but we can look around the campus. Let's head into this building. We're going to have a look around these facilities. It looks like it's a engineering lab. And you can move through this group to sort of really get a sense of what it is that Vepple can do. Your open day or events section is down here, so it's through this that you can deliver live or on-demand talks. And then an integration with either Unibuddy or the Ambassador platform is actually brought into the platform. So rather than having to leave, everything's in one place. Across the top, you've got configurable calls to action. In this case, book an open day. That's what 87% of users of the site tend to push towards, something around visiting. But they can actually be anything, and indeed we'll come on to it, but depending on what your filters are, you may or may not want to change those. So I'm going to stop there for now. I just want to give you a really quick high-level overview of what's actually on offer, but hopefully that's helpful for those of you that are completely new to Vepple. So into the first piece, and this is about personalization. So it's all about audience, and university websites, they offer a bit of a one-size-fits-all approach. So understandably, you've got to accommodate everyone from prospective students to existing students, staff, other businesses, alumni, and I'm sure many other audiences. The problem with that is the amount of content that's there. It can just become overwhelming for prospective students to quickly find what it is that they're looking for. And we know that they demand a good user experience, and we'll come on to that in a second. But if they don't find what they're looking for, you guys probably already know, they don't hang around, they just move on. So what we mean by personalized experiences is users being able to select their preferences at the start, and those preferences are used to inform what content is then shown. And at that point, everything is shown together in one place. So there's a series of filters on Vepple. The example I just showed had a study level filter and it had a subject filter, but those filters could be anything. So it could be, a study level, undergrad, postgrad, apprenticeships, foundation degrees, that kind of thing. It could be academic, so course, subject, department, or faculty, as you've just seen. But then you can, under the Platinum package, really start having a play around with other things. So, for example, location. So you could have either say a UK versus international filter, or you could even break it down by region or country to say, okay, I'm a UK student, I'm a Chinese student, I'm an Indian student, and it can be multilingual as well. So you can really serve different audiences with different content. Stage in the recruitment cycle. Obviously, inquirers have very different informational needs to an offer holder or applicant, so you could actually use Vepple to push content to different audiences at different times, but they're just going to get one seamless user experience. And then lastly, just as an idea, like I say, this can be anything, but as an idea, user type. So this is something that we've thought about as well, is using the filtering to say, okay, I'm a prospective student or a parent or a teacher, and you could actually potentially use this as a content hub to deliver to those specific audiences of teachers and parents, which I know is something that comes up. So just moving on to chat more about that seamless user experience, that personalization, as I mentioned, is ensuring the right content and only that is shown to users quickly. It reduces the barrier to finding content, which we know is essential. And crucially, in my view, it means that content can be structured around the needs of the user rather than the needs of the university. So the classic example on university websites is there'll be a section called campuses. And as someone who doesn't know the university and knows nothing about where you're going to be taught and things like that, that's not that helpful to know, to just see all of the campuses, because you don't know where you're going to be studying. Whereas with Vepple, you can say, these are my interests, and it will serve you the stuff that's relevant to you to say, actually, yeah, you want to know about this campus and this accommodation and this student life, because depending on the university and which campus you're taught at, that might be very different. And then crucially as well, all content, irrespective of type, can be housed alongside each other, and we'll come into that a little bit more in due course. But everything that they might want to know about is in one place. So in terms of the impact of personalization, Vepple launched at the start of the year, and the first client sites went live in June. In that time, this data is over a 12-week period from sort of August to November time. And in that time, 57% of users who filtered their experience, sorry, that's not right, of users that filtered, that went on Vepple, those that filtered their experience were 57% more likely to click one of the CTAs in the header than those who received the generic experience like you would on a website. Likewise, 106% longer spent on site on an average session than those users who received the generic experience. They were 30 times more likely to consent to be marketed to via email when they choose to filter their experience, and they're 36 times more likely to chat to staff and students. So you can see how having that filtering and making sure that people are seeing stuff that's relevant to them, really great at helping to drive that engagement and conversion to key calls to action, amongst other things. So I'm going to now just flick through to a video, and apologies when I switch across this, there might be a short delay. This is a first year student that we interviewed. We asked her to have a look at Vepple and chat about her experience of applying to university. So I'll swap over to this now.
When I started my search for universities, I looked at about 15 different websites for universities, and if they weren't visually appealing and if they didn't have the information I wanted straight there right away, then I would usually just click off it and look at a different university website and pick the ones that were best and easiest to understand and to look around. So I've really enjoyed looking around this campus experience. I think for me, I'm very much a visual learner and visual person, so I really love the fact that you get so many of these lovely videos and also 360 tours of the university. And I particularly like the fact that everything you'd need in terms of looking at university is on the left-hand side. So explore the campus, accommodation, my subject, student life, and life in Belfast. And that makes it so much easier because I just remember as a student in sixth form in college, I spent my time having to look through these websites, and I found this one really simple, and actually to such an extent that I would have loved to book a campus tour and love to go visit myself, which is great really.
Okay, so really, interesting insight from a student there talking about her experience, and as I mentioned, all of that kind of feeding into the personalisation, delivering everything in one place was paramount. So moving on through, there we go, to number 2. So it's linked, but that focus on interactive experiences. So obviously, Vepple, as I just mentioned, is all about bringing together lots and lots of interactive content together and allowing them to seamlessly coexist. So it's quite possible that a university website might be able to handle individual 360s or videos on the same page. It's unlikely, though, to be able to group multiple 360s together into an interactive guided tour, forming a narrative with student insight and kind of narration coming in over the top of it. And that's the kind of experience that Vepple has been built to deliver from the ground up. So I've not got time at the minute to kind of go into each of these features. Obviously, if anyone wants more information on how they work and how they link together, like I said, by all means, get in touch and we can book a demo. But again, I'm going to swap over to a video in a second, which is Jack from UCLAM. And he's just talking about kind of both pieces together, the personalization and the impact that's had, and also the benefit of having everything together and that kind of interactive, immersive content. So I'm just going to hop across to Jack.
Users are spending over 7 to 8 minutes within the platform compared to kind of like a 1 to 2 minute average session duration on the website. You can see that they want to be in the platform, they want to see your content, they want to digest it, and they want to experience that kind of like immersive kind of like experience virtually. So that's what really is the biggest impact for us. So I think kind of like the main key advantage Vepple gives you that the website doesn't, that it kind of like brings all the content together in one place. So from a website perspective, you can clearly see that we have a lot of information, and it's great, right? But what you can't get is, for example, let's say 360s for kind of like understanding kind of like the services and the facilities. In the website, they are attached to a single facility, and that user journey and experience could be kind of like long-winded, or they could just bounce off the website. But what Vepple does is actually you can bring all the facilities and 360s together in one place. That actually keeps the user engaged and kind of like experience them all in one area. So actually what you're not getting is the bounce rate that the website has, and actually you're lowering the bounce rate because the user can actually experience more of the 360s together.
Okie dokie. So hopefully that was a helpful insight from Clan, who've been using the platform since June. So moving on to number 3. So this is all about the data and how we use that to inform things after the fact. So Vepple, every Vepple comes with a data dashboard, as you can see on screen there. There's a version of one, and that's going to cover key metrics, including number of users, sessions, page views, bounce rate, session duration, which links people are clicking on, what's the most popular content, and all of that kind of good stuff. But taking it further than that, we also kind of go through to explain the so what does that actually mean. And we do that by comparing it to other users of the platform. So we have quarterly reviews in which we'll walk clients through the performance of their experience, but we'll make recommendations to you on how you can improve it based on the data that we're seeing elsewhere from other experiences. So as an example, we've obviously blurred out the solutions here, but you can see how for one particular university, they could see how their users and sessions are comparing, how their session duration might compare in bounce rate. But then crucially, it's things like this first goal of who's clicking on which CTAs. So the primary CTAs, those ones at the header, some unis are doing much better at that than others. And we can kind of drill down into that to say, well, these guys are generating nearly 9% of a conversion rate to book an open day, whereas these guys, yeah, they're getting more volume, but they're only converting 2.4%. So we can feed back what others are doing back into recommendations to you to see how you can improve your Vepple moving forwards. Just in a similar regard, we also look at the data with a BDI to see how we can make the platform better. So that's looking at everything from the data on individual solutions. We run user tests and focus groups. We obviously get lots of client feedback, and we've been doing this for 17 years. So like Tom said, we've delivered more than 50 virtual tours, bespoke virtual tours to universities. So leaning on all of that, it kind of drives into how things are going to develop. Likewise, from early next year, we're formally kind of launching the community within Vepple of users, so that we can share hints and tips between universities on what's worked well and kind of best practices going through to launch, which we're really excited for. Sticking on the data theme, number 4 is about data capture. So most universities are not set up to collect information on individuals based on their browser habits. Browsing habits, and that's exactly what Vepple does. So what I didn't show you with the MMU example, you can actually enable authentication, and when that happens and someone logs in, so they can sign up really easily through Facebook, Google, Microsoft, that kind of thing, or they can just create an account with their email address. But when they do that and they start to browse around, everything that they do is then tracked. So every link that they click, every filter, the filter selections that start to personalize the journey, every section that they view, which 360s they view, which videos they watch, which events they attend, which events they register onto, and also there's a profile page that they can populate as well, and you guys can choose what fields you want on there. All of that information is collected and stored in their profile. You can export that as a CSV so that you can then bring it into your CRM and further market to them, essentially. So just on that point, part of that sign up process involves consenting to marketing, and we made a change, again, based on the data we were seeing recently. And when we did that, we managed to increase the rate of people consenting to email marketing from 3% to over 70%. So in terms of all those leads that we managed to capture that otherwise would have just been going straight through, great traffic to the site and clearly engaged, but you might see that on your site, but you don't know who they are. Whereas with Vepple, you can get the skinny on absolutely everything that they're doing and what their interests are, so you can go on to retarget them later. Number 5, dedicated support from experts in the industry. So we have a really thorough onboarding process that ensures that customers are fully supported in the development of their experience, particularly to begin with. We've got a support desk that's open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And crucially, all of our products are research backed. So we've carried out 8 primary research studies in the past 5 years, looking at what prospective students really want from web solutions, but well, not just web solutions actually, but recruitment content more generally. And we're exposed to all of that. So when we're making recommendations to you on what to do with Vepple and taking you through the onboarding process, it's coming from a real place of kind of knowledge where we actually really understand what it is that prospective students want. And Vepple's no exception to that. And then likewise, commitment to continually improving Vepple based on the data of what we're actually seeing, the trends of what we're seeing is obviously makes us well positioned as well. In terms of client satisfaction so far, from the last 3 months, we've got a positive satisfaction score of 88%, covering the period September to November. And our NPS score is literally off the chart at the minute at 66, which is exceptionally high for a software platform. There's a few testimonials here from clients, which I'll leave on screen for a second, but again, I'm quite keen to show you a video just from Jack. We didn't pay him to do this, by the way. He just wanted to chat about his experience of using Vepple. So I'll hop back across to him and we can watch his video.
The main thing that surprised me about Vepple is probably kind of the customer service, which is absolutely phenomenal, from able to kind of like jump on calls when you need to and ask really silly questions, kind of going like, I'm trying to do this, can I get some support? And I think that's a credit to Revolution Viewing, because you don't just get a platform, you get an absolute end-to-end service. And I mean, everyone within Revolution Viewing gives you that support so that you can actually feel more confident about using that platform as well. And I think that's what is really surprised me the most.
Okay, right, I'll just skip past this, so it's going to start playing. Okay, number 6, content management system, and that being easy and offering enough control. So the content management system, as I mentioned, is designed with interactive content in mind. So when you go to add a 360 in, you can actually see the 360 in the CMS, and you can literally grab and position content spots and things within the CMS, all visually. So it's designed with that interactivity in mind. It's WordPress powered, so it's easy and familiar for the content teams who maybe have spent time in WordPress before, and you can control literally everything from the branding, fonts, logos, colors, right the way through to the whole site structure, the calls to action, the content that goes in there, and how that's all filtered. You get granular permission, which is quite a powerful feature. So if, for example, central marketing want to have ultimate control over the look and feel and the content structure, but you want support from academics to populate the content, you can give them a certain level of permission that will let them write draft articles, but then ultimately it has to be approved by an editor or an admin as part of the central team. So you've got really great kind of co-working tools within there to help support that. The comprehensive onboarding process I mentioned earlier, combined, we've got an always-on knowledge base that has written articles with videos and things like that explaining how university staff can use Vepple. So we really kind of make sure that everyone's onboarded to really get the most out of the platform. last one. So responsive and accessible, and these are obviously kind of buzzwordish things to talk about, but they're actually really important, and particularly in the context of interactive content, 360s and that kind of things. It's really hard to make 360s, maps, things like that responsive to work across all devices. Vepple's been built to accommodate that stuff from the ground up, and there's definitely things that I would recommend you look at on your website, particularly as soon as you start bringing 360s and things in like that. Irrespective of whether you use Vepple, it's worth looking at whether those 360s do actually scale down gracefully and you can navigate around them properly, because it's actually really quite hard to do. Excuse me, my voice is going. The other part of that is accessibility compliance. So Vepple's built to support compliance with WCAG 2.1 to AA standard, which I know is quite important to a lot of you for obvious reasons with the government mandate to hit that. So again, Vepple's built with that in mind from the off. So that was well timed. My voice is about to go. So just as a recap, personalised experiences.
Sorry, just before you recap, my technical people are getting in touch, just saying that there's a slight issue with the Q&A, and I'm told here that people outside of Google can't ask questions. Is there any chance you could turn the chat bubble on? That might mean more to you than me. So for those of you out there that maybe haven't been able to add a question, apologies, but we can see that there has been a question added, so I guess that that person has been able to access it. Sorry.
Thanks. Yeah, we've got a few on the Google one, but I've just enabled questions in GoToWebinar as well. So apologies for that. If anyone wants to ask questions through here as well, we'll go through both. Excuse me. So just as a recap, personalised experiences, focus on interactive experiences. Those two are really closely linked, just making sure that everything is in one place together. Aggregated performance data and using that to continuously improve the platform. Data capture on individuals to inform further marketing. And then really that dedicated support from us to both onboard, but then also give advice on what works. And then linking into the content management system and populating that through a really easy to use CMS. And then lastly, once it's live, making sure that everyone can actually access it across devices and to appropriate accessibility standards. So appreciate we've covered an awful lot there. Next point is to go into questions. So like we've said, if there are any questions, please put them through either the Google link, or if you want to ask them directly through here, that's okay as well.
And whilst you're finishing off a cough there, Johnny, I'll just say to it, if anyone felt that the last half hour has been of any use at all, and you've got anything positive that you could say, then a one-line testimonial would be fantastic. And if you are able to give us a one-line testimonial, please drop it in the chat. For one, it'll help us to find out whether the chat's working. Obviously, if you've got some negative stuff to say, then say that as well, and we'll take it on the chin and hopefully make things better for next time. So yeah, one-line testimonials will be amazing. It'll help us promote the rest of this series.
Thanks, Tom, and I was indeed dying in a corner coughing then, so apologies. So we'll go through the first question. So first question, how can we book a demo? It's on the screen when I hide this again, but if you go to vepple.co.uk, there's a big link on there through which you can book a demo. So feel free to do that. If for any reason you can't do that, or you'd like to chat a little bit more before doing that, you can email us at hello@revolutionviewing.com and someone will get back in touch to get that sorted for you. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, just on the book a demo thing, when you go through, you'll see that we've got this thing set up called Calendly, so you can look at our diary, so you'll be able to pick a time, hopefully in December, but maybe in January, to actually book in that demo. But if that all gets a little bit too much from a technological point of view, which it does a bit for me sometimes, then do just get in touch, send an email to hello@, and then a real person will get back to you.
Cheers.
Sorry, Johnny.
Sorry. So next one, anonymous, but they've asked, with students spending longer on the site per session, can you track exactly what they're doing? So the answer to that is yes. The analytics platform that we've got behind it is Google Analytics. So obviously nice and familiar to lots of teams who use that already. So we can pipe data to your own Google Analytics accounts as well as the one that we're using. And when you do that, you can look at the behavior flow to see what individuals are doing. But without even touching Google Analytics, through the report that we give you that gives you a breakdown of how everything is going, we've actually got the same filtering capability and sort of personalization capability that's on Vepple, but in the report itself. So you can drill down to say, I want to see traffic specifically for undergraduate art and design students. And you can see what they're looking at. You can see what their average session duration is. You can see at what point they exit. So you can really start to see where you maybe have content gaps, or maybe where you've got content that's really working for you, and you can perhaps try that in another section. Thanks for the question on that one. That was great. We've got 3 more in the Google bit, and then I'll come across to the GoToWebinar questions. So did the students say what her favorite feature was? So Tom may be a better place to see that, because he actually handled that conversation.
She did actually, and it was quite interesting. She put a lot of emphasis on finding accommodation, the right kind of accommodation for her. She wanted to make sure there was an ensuite, and so when she got to the accommodation section, she could see the 360s. She found that really helpful, and I think, and Johnny alluded to it before, because of the way Vepple channels the user into specific areas that are of use to them, it was very quick and easy for her to actually access that 360 information about the accommodation. But the overriding thing that came through in that piece of in the questions that we asked her, it was the having everything in one place. And we tested that a bit further by asking her what her second choice university was. She told us, and then we did a little bit of a head-to-head, and we gave her 5 things to go and find, and she did that with her second choice university that didn't have a virtual a Vepple, and then she did that, answered the same question, or tried to explore and find the same thing on Vepple, and time after time she was able to find the item that she was after, or that we wanted her to try and find much more quickly on Vepple. And those 5 items were born from us first asking her the question, what are the most important things for her? Accommodation being one, course information being another, and then social life and city information. So there's loads more information we have around that kind of thing, so do get in touch, and that's the kind of stuff we can share during the demo and answer any questions you might have.
Cheers for that one. Joe has asked, is Vepple able to manage 2 languages? Yep, it's able to handle as many languages as you wish. Don't look at me to do population for you, but yes, it can handle multiple languages. So having it in English and Welsh would not be a problem. You can actually, it's up to you, but you can deliver either the same experience, or you could create a totally different experience for each language. So yeah, you've got complete control there. Thanks, Jay. Just going to have a quick look about the GoToWebinar questions we've got. Is it possible to carry out a day-long virtual conference on the platform? Is it possible to deliver live sessions? So yes to both is the answer. The way that we've handled events is a little bit different to how many other providers have done it, in that when we were looking to build Vepple, a year ago now, we were chatting to a lot of universities about, what platforms you're using to do it in the minute, what your biggest challenge is. And across the board, it became clear that A, the platforms that they were using were doing a good job and they were getting better all the time. But B, the biggest barrier that they had at the time, and I think this is still the case, to be honest, there was a they kept referring to digital fatigue. And they were just saying the academics, the people who are actually presenting on these things, they're just knackered, and they don't want to have to spend time learning a whole new system and having been forced to do that. And the training effort of doing that was massive. So rather than doing that and saying, yeah, actually, we're forcing you to use this, Vepple works with whatever platform you're wanting to deliver a webinar or a talk through. So we'd go into it in more detail on a demo, which is probably the best way of handling. But essentially, you'd have each individual talk. The fees and finance talk, the accommodation talk, the art and design talk. They'd all have their own sort of listings within Vepple. You can set them up to be filtered in the same way that everything else is, so that you can make sure that only relevant things are shown. And then those talks can be delivered through Teams, Zoom, Blackboard, YouTube, Facebook. literally whatever you like to deliver the stream, but they're all brought together into one place to make sure that irrespective of platform being used, the users themselves are getting a great experience because everything is together in one place. Hopefully that helps. Does it work with Microsoft Teams? Yes, Microsoft Teams is one of the things you can do. You can't actually embed Microsoft Teams within a web browser at the minute. You can't forcibly do that, but it does work with Microsoft Teams. We could show you how that works, if that would be helpful. We've got the question back on the Google one. Jack mentioned the results they're getting, the increased session length on Vepple versus their website. Are you seeing this across your Vepple platform? Yes, and actually the stats that Jack was mentioning are fairly conservative. So over the summer, and apologies for I can't remember the exact seconds, but average session duration across the whole platform was 18 minutes. For open days, so specifically when there was an event running, it was more like 35 minutes. So as you can imagine, that's kind of not that surprising, because really, if someone's sat on a talk for 20 minutes or whatever, that is going to naturally be longer. But even taking that away and excluding open day traffic, for non-open days, average session duration was around the 10-minute mark. I think it was 9 minutes 56 seconds. And obviously that has changed over time, but it's still well in excess. You know, it's upwards of 8 minutes, depending on kind of how long you're looking at and which sites you're looking at. So yeah, across the board, really, really great.
Johnny, just allow me to build on that slightly. With the student that we interviewed, Sophie, and she did mention this in the video piece that we watched. She said, if I can't find what I'm after a minute, then I'll just click off. And those words are going to resonate for a long time with me. I don't think there's really anyone on this webinar that wouldn't imagine that would be the case, but there's nothing quite like a student telling you that. You know, she said, I'd tend to look, my filtering process was 15 universities or thereabouts I was looking at. And yeah, I quickly filter that to 10 because 5 of them I just couldn't find what I was after. I want to know about the accommodation and I want to know about the city life. And if I can't find that in a couple of minutes, I click off. And that was just really stark. Now we need to, at Revolution Viewing, we want to and need to do more work with the prospective students and first year students just to really understand that journey even better than we do now, and just to hear more about that, because we appreciate that Sophie's just one person, but I think that was quite vivid in terms of the point she was making. So so the fact that everything was in one place on Vepple was a big plus for her, and in theory would stop her clicking off. But I'll stop now because John's asked a couple of good questions there.
Yeah. So yeah, John, thanks for your questions. Great. So like you say, big university websites, you don't want to replicate exactly what is on your website and stick it into Vepple. It's not the right approach. So if you're getting into the detail of, how many points do you need for this module and stuff like that, that's what your website's for. And there's no two ways about it. Like, Vepple can drive traffic towards your website. And when we do that, there's a few things that we can do to try and make sure that that's still a positive experience. So the first is that you can actually bring another website into Vepple in a modal. So if you didn't want to actually link in a new tab, you could open, if your website supports it, you could open Vepple in a sort of box over the top of Vepple's experience. So that's a really nice way of linking through to other content, and QUB do that quite nicely throughout theirs. The other thing that we're literally working on as we speak are a series of embeddable widgets. So when someone is browsing around your website, let's say you're on the accommodation page and they go into accommodation block A, I mean, you hopefully don't call it that, but you're on the page for accommodation block A, and what we're looking to build at the minute is some embeddable widgets. So the first would be a 360 block. So while you're on that accommodation page, there will be a 360, which is pulling in all the content from Vepple. So people could browse around and have a look at that specific 360, but then there will be backlinks that then take them to that section within Vepple. Because Vepple's deep linked, so that means you can hit a particular point of Vepple from the off. You don't have to start at the start every time. You can actually push people straight into the accommodation section, for example. So there's a few other things that we're working on as part of that kind of widget overview, but hopefully that helps.
It's a great question. I think it's that piece of helping with the architecture that I think is quite an important part of the setup of Vepple when we work with our clients, just to understand the requirements and make sure that their website and Vepple melds perfectly so that it presents the right information at the right time I think that's quite an important one. So great question from John. We've only got 1 minute, Johnny, but John's other question I think is really a nice closer for us.
Sorry.
Do we, so John asked, do we own our Vepple once purchased, or is this leased from RB on an annual long-term basis? So Vepple is sold, there's 3 packages ranging from £15,000 to £30,000 per year, bought on a three-year contract. And so, John, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, we do 2 and 1 year contracts with a premium on top of that, but yeah, that's correct. It's SaaS, essentially. It's licensed from us.
And when it comes to the actual content, as you know from my little bit, we can provide loads of content, but we're agnostic in that respect. So we're quite happy to port in existing content, or if you get different suppliers to create 360s, photography, video, that's all fine. We can help you make sure that you can manage that content and add it into your Vepple.
Thanks, guys. I think we've handled all of the questions there, but obviously, like I said, if there's anything else that comes up after the fact, please do get in touch with us. We'll be emailing you a link to the session tomorrow, so feel free to reply to that, or book a demo with us on the website as shown. As Dan has done in the chat, really appreciate it if you feel like this session's been helpful or positive. Or if it hasn't, if you could leave a testimonial, just ask it as a question. We'll pick it up from there. Just explaining what you found helpful. It would really help us inform what we do moving forwards for future webinars. Otherwise, I think that's us. Thank you very much indeed for your time and for joining. Tom, anything else from you?
Just a big thank you for people joining. I think it's been a really useful, some great questions there, guys. Thank you so much. And yeah, do get in touch if we can help you with anything else.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for your time.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.